Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State under President Trump and Fox News contributor, some of what Admiral Kirby was saying is, well, it's a little embarrassing. I mean, of course we have disagreements with China, and of course they should know it.
Harris, thanks for having me on. Yeah, disagreements. It sounds like they think China is Sweden or Norway. Those are countries we have disagreements with. The Chinese Communist Party is trying to destroy our way of life here. Xi Jinping's made that very clear. And I heard Congressman McCall and the note from the military guy. They're exactly right. President Biden looked weak. Not only did he not talk about COVID and its origins, but how it killed millions of people around the world. I don't think they talked about fentanyl that's putting just about every community in America at risk today. Everybody knows someone who's been impacted by fentanyl coming out of China through Mexico. When you think that the meeting itself is the goal and the objective and you check the box, that's a mistake. I didn't see any real actions. I saw action plan. I saw nobody make credible deterrent statements to Xi Jinping. Even President Biden's comments yesterday on Taiwan in his press conference, I got to tell you, Harris, it confused the heck out of me. I couldn't tell you what our policy is with respect to Taiwan today. Ooh. And if Xi Jinping doesn't know, he's gonna think it's a green light, sort of like minor incursion in Ukraine.
Right.
I think when you say, "Gosh, we're confused on Taiwan," that will be interpreted by Xi Jinping as a go signal.
Well, look, and Secretary, I've heard you say on different topics that when you show confusion, you also show the enemy. And let's not get it twisted. China's not our friend here. You show the people who would want to hurt you that basically, yes, it's a green light, but that you don't agree at home. And they love it when we're divided like that. Absolutely love it.
Oh, my goodness, they do. You remember, Harris, at the beginning of the administration when National Security Advisor and the Secretary of State went to Alaska, they were berated. What were they berated about? America's in turmoil, riots in the street, George Floyd, BLM, that kind of divisiveness inside the own country. They accelerate, they enhance, they fan. And when President Biden doesn't go there and make clear that the confrontation with the Chinese Communist Party, and you got it right, they're not a competitor, they are an adversary, that if we're not going to confront them full throttle, economically, diplomatically, be prepared to confront them militarily. If we don't demonstrate our resolve through real actions, then Xi Jinping will sense weakness. And the saddest thing is that will impact every American right here at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, they love to find out more about everything and divide us more on TikTok. That's why former President Trump was so against it. And we're learning now, although we've always known, I don't know, maybe we just wake up, we woke up some of the woke folk. Another Fox News op-ed here to highlight. And here's a quote. Having sized up Biden, Putin invaded Ukraine. Taiwan must pray Xi doesn't make a similar assessment. Biden likely lectured his counterpart, rambling on about issues that Xi has no interest in, like global warming and oppression by his government. And again, a U.S. enemy will be sizing Biden up and potentially emboldened to start a war. A little bit of what you had said, and it takes it deeper. Secretary.
Yes, Harris, that's exactly right. That's a really good summary. Xi Jinping was sizing up President Biden in the same way that when Biden met with Putin, he was sized up. He was viewed as weak, not credible, unprepared to actually confront. And Xi Jinping will use this as a green light. When you send John Kerry as your primary emissary to Xi Jinping, you know full well he's thinking, great, I'm just going to go build some more coal-fired power plants. Oh. And I'm going to take down your team because you are fundamentally unserious about the things that matter most to protecting America. I'm deeply concerned that we went backwards as a result of the summit, not forwards.
Well, look, I hope we don't go so far backwards that we start treating China and their coal the way that we treat Venezuela and others and their oil. You don't think we'd actually buy coal from China since Biden wants to shut down all the coal plants here? Goodness.
It seems unimaginable, Harris. But I've been surprised. Right? They want to buy. They want to buy stuff from Iran. John Kerry met with Nicolas Maduro. He shook hands with this guy's indicted. This guy was indicted for flooding our country with drugs. We have a bounty out for his arrest and bringing him back to the United States. And our climate envoy met with this guy. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we would be prepared to trade something really big in exchange for some green climate agenda that President Biden has.
Well, we've got to watch it. We just have to cover it as it happens, every detail. I don't know if those in the other legacy medias are willing to do that. I'm sort of sounding like Jesse Ventura here, putting an S on media. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is testifying before the House Homeland Security Committee right now. Republican lawmakers say he forced the Customs Border Protection Commissioner, Chris Magnus, out. Forced him out of his job as a scapegoat for the disaster at our southern border. Texas Senator Ted Cruz says the Biden administration found their fall guy, one of several Republican lawmakers saying Mayorkas should be the one to resign. Others pressed him on the border crisis just last hour. Let's watch.
Are you aware, or have you authorized CBP agents to release illegal aliens into America without identifying, screening, or vetting them properly?
Congressman, our nation's sovereignty stands strong.
It's been rumored.
And nobility throughout the Department of Homeland Security. That is
you represent nobility, Secretary Mayorkas?
Congressman, that is what I am dedicated to.
It's been rumored, Secretary, that you're going to resign prior to January the 3rd. Is any truth to those rumors?
That is a false rumor.
What's your reaction to all of that?
Well, I hope the rumor's not false. I hope he does resign. He has demonstrated an enormous unwillingness to do the most basic thing, which is to protect American sovereignty. And whether this fella he made walk the plank as a fall guy, we know the responsibility is ultimately with Secretary Mayorkas and indeed with President Biden. Senior American leaders have to take responsibility. And when I hear them, Harris, when I hear them talk about Vice President said that the border was secure, and now Secretary Mayorkas says, oh goodness, our sovereignty is being protected. That's just plain gaslighting. We can see it with our own eyes. It's untrue. Yeah. And it is dangerous for the United States. Terrorists, fentanyl, all the things that come across our border present real risk to us.
Yeah, I've been to both those hubs, the human smuggling hub, which is, the Del Rio sector in Texas, and the fentanyl, which is just south of my home when I'm home in Arizona in Nogales. I mean, I don't know what he's talking about when he says that things are under control. Okay, let's get to this. The crime crisis continues here in New York City. 2 men are now suspected in at least 7 necklace robberies. Now, remember, crime is so rampant, it feels like it's random. We're not talking about they went to a jewelry store. We mean that they ripped stuff off women's necks, including this crime involving a 12-year-old child. Police say 2 men drove up next to her on a moped, grabbed the necklace, and dragged her down the street, later ripping the necklace away from her and fleeing on foot. Meanwhile, a study finds nearly 24,500 Americans were murdered last year. If that rate continues, the study projects 1 out of every 179 Americans will eventually be murdered. I mean, that 107, that number should be millions. That means that at least someone potentially will be harmed in that way, will be killed. We can't settle for this.
Harris, this is staggeringly bad, and the American people can feel it. The candidates who actually made this case and offered solutions to this, folks like Lee Zeldin in New York and some others, convinced the American people to move in our direction. It's not a political issue. This is about basic security, basic taking care of families so your kids can go out and play in the streets. When you have district attorneys and governors who aren't prepared to prosecute these crimes against the most fundamental rights of every American, it is indecent, it is immoral, and it's got to change, Harris.
Secretary Mike Pompeo, great to see you, have you in focus. Thank you for talking on so many different topics with me today.
Yes, ma'am. Have a great day.
You too.